Let me tell you something most men are never prepared to hear. Losing erection strength after 60 is not simply aging, and it doesn't mean you've lost your masculinity. I've sat with men who felt something slipping away, their confidence, their closeness with their partner, even their sense of identity. Not because their body was done, but because blood flow was slowing, hormones were shifting, and daily habits were quietly working against them. I'm Dr. James, a urologist with over 30 years of experience, and I've seen how one overlooked behavior, something many men do every day without thinking, can either support your mood, circulation, and prostate health, or slowly reduce sensitivity, drain energy, and create patterns that affect performance. So before you assume it's just age, let's walk through what this habit is really doing inside your body. Starting with the first benefit most men notice but rarely understand. 1. Benefit 1. Mood balance and hormonal regulation, dopamine, oxytocin. Let's start with something many men feel but rarely understand. That sense of calm after release. That quiet moment where your mind slows down, your body softens, and the tension you've been carrying all day seems to fade. That's not just in your head, it's your biology working for you. When you ejaculate, your brain releases dopamine, oxytocin, and endorphins. Chemicals that help regulate mood, reduce stress, and bring your nervous system back into balance. And here's why this matters more than you think. Chronic stress doesn't just affect your mood, it constricts blood vessels, lowers testosterone, and reduces the flow of nitric oxide, the very signal your body needs to create and maintain an erection. Over time, that pressure builds quietly. You start noticing subtle changes. Less desire, weaker erections, difficulty staying firm, even restless nights or waking up to urinate more often. I remember a patient, Mr. Collins, 69 years old. He didn't come in complaining about erections at first. He said, "Doctor, I just don't feel like myself anymore." He was more irritable, disconnected from his wife, and constantly tired. When we talked deeper, it became clear. He had been suppressing his sexual expression for years, believing it was something he should grow out of. But his body didn't agree. That tension had nowhere to go. When he slowly reintroduced a healthy, mindful routine, something changed, his mood lifted, his sleep improved, and interestingly, his erections began to feel more natural again. Not because of a pill, but because his system was no longer stuck in a constant state of stress. Now, I want to be clear with you. This isn't about doing it every day without thought. It's about understanding that your body needs balance. That release, when done consciously, can act like a reset button, helping your brain, your hormones, and your blood flow work together instead of against each other. And the good news? Even if you've been feeling off for years, this is something that can improve. Your body is still responsive. It's still listening. Sometimes it just needs the right signal. But here's where most men get it wrong. Because what helps your system in one way can quietly start to work against you if you're not careful. And in the next part, I'm going to show you how this same habit can actually begin to affect your circulation and performance if it's done the wrong way. 2. Benefit 2. Improved blood flow and erectile function. Now let's talk about something even more physical and more visible. Your erection is not just about desire, it's about blood flow. Strong, steady, responsive blood flow. And here's what many men don't realize. If that system isn't used regularly, it begins to slow down. Blood vessels lose flexibility. Nitric oxide production drops, and the signal between your brain and your body becomes weaker over time. That's when you start noticing it. Erections that don't feel as firm, difficulty maintaining them, or moments where your body simply doesn't respond the way it used to. Not because you've lost your masculinity, but because your circulation is no longer being stimulated the way it needs to be. I had a patient, Mr. Lee, 72 years old. He told me, "Doctor, it's like everything down there is fading." He wasn't in pain, he wasn't sick, but his erections were weaker, less reliable, and it was starting to affect how he saw himself. When we looked deeper, there was a pattern. Very little physical activity, very little sexual stimulation, and long periods where his body simply wasn't activating that blood flow pathway. So we made a simple change. Nothing extreme, just consistent, mindful stimulation combined with light daily movement, walking, breathing, improving circulation overall. Within a few weeks, he noticed something shift, not perfection, but improvement, more response, more confidence, more connection. Because here's how your body works. When you become aroused, nitric oxide is released. That tells your blood vessels to open up, allowing blood to flow into the penile tissue. The more responsive that system is, the stronger your erection. But like any system in the body, if it's not used, it adapts, and not in your favor. The good news is, this system can be reactivated, even later in life, even after years of decline. So here's what I tell my patients. Don't ignore the signal. Support it. Stay active. Keep your blood moving. And if you're engaging in sexual activity, do it with awareness, not rushing, not forcing, but allowing your body to fully respond. That alone can make a difference over time. But here's the part most men never expect. Because while improving blood flow can help you, there's something deeper happening inside another organ that many men overlook completely. And in the next part, I'm going to show you how this habit may actually affect your prostate in ways that can either support it or slowly create problems if ignored. 3. Benefit 3. Prostate health and natural cleansing. There's one part of your body that almost every man ignores until it starts causing problems. Your prostate. Small gland. Quiet role. But it has a powerful influence on how you urinate, how you feel, and even how your sexual function holds up over time. And here's what many men don't realize. When the prostate isn't regularly active, fluid can begin to build up. That stagnation can contribute to pressure, inflammation, and subtle changes that show up slowly. More frequent urination at night, a weaker stream, that constant feeling of not fully emptying. And yes, it can also affect erection quality because everything in that region is connected. Let me tell you about Mr. Tron, 71 years old. He came in frustrated, not because of pain, but because his nights were broken. Waking up 3, sometimes 4 times to use the bathroom. He told me, "Doctor, I'm exhausted. I don't feel like a man anymore." When we talked through his routine, something stood out. For years, he had completely withdrawn from any form of sexual activity. Not by choice, but because he thought it was no longer necessary at his age. What happened instead was slow, quiet congestion in the prostate. Nothing dramatic, just gradual decline. So we introduced small changes: gentle, regular release, hydration, light movement. Within weeks, his symptoms began to ease. Fewer trips at night, better rest, and something else. A return of confidence he thought was gone for good. Here's how to think about it. The prostate produces fluid. That fluid needs movement. Ejaculation helps clear out older material, reducing buildup and supporting a healthier environment. It's not a cure for everything, but it's part of the system. And when that system is supported, your body functions more smoothly. Now, I want to reassure you. If you're already experiencing these symptoms, it doesn't mean it's too late. Your body can respond. It can improve, sometimes with simple, consistent habits. Staying hydrated, avoiding long periods of sitting. And yes, allowing your body to engage naturally instead of shutting it down out of fear or misunderstanding. But here's where we need to pause, because what supports your prostate in one way can quietly start to work against your mind and your behavior if it's not done with awareness. And in the next part, we're going to talk about the first risk. When a healthy habit slowly turns into something you no longer control. 4. Drawback 1. Loss of control and habit dependency. Now we need to talk about something most men don't notice. Until it quietly takes control. What starts as a simple habit can slowly become something your brain depends on, not for pleasure, but for relief. Relief from stress, from boredom, from loneliness. And when that happens, your body begins to shift. Every time you ejaculate, your brain releases dopamine, a reward signal. It feels good, it calms you down. But if this becomes your primary way of coping, your brain starts to expect it. It lowers its natural sensitivity, and over time, your baseline changes. You may not feel it immediately, But slowly, you begin to notice signs: less motivation, less natural desire, even moments where your erections feel weaker or less responsive unless you follow the same pre-Whitney pattern. I remember a patient, Mr. Alvarez, 66 years old. He came to me saying, "Doctor, I don't feel excited anymore, not even with my wife." That worried him deeply. He thought something was broken, but when we talked, the pattern became clear. He had fallen into a daily routine, not out of connection, but out of habit. Quick, repetitive, almost automatic. His brain had adapted to that specific stimulus. Real intimacy began to feel less engaging. His body wasn't failing. It was conditioned. And that realization hit him hard, because it wasn't age taking something away. It was a pattern he didn't even realize he had built. Now, I want you to hear this clearly. This is not permanent. The brain is flexible. Your system can reset. When Mr. Alvarez began to slow down, spacing things out, reconnecting with real sensation instead of routine, his response gradually returned. His desire felt more natural again. His confidence came back, not overnight, but steadily. So here's the simple shift I want you to consider. Ask yourself, am I choosing this or am I using this to escape something else? Because awareness is where control begins. Try spacing it out. Focus on quality, not frequency. Let your body rebuild sensitivity instead of constantly chasing stimulation. And here's the part most men don't expect. Even if you regain control, there's another layer to this. Because the way you do it, especially if it's rushed or repetitive, can start to change how your body performs in ways that directly affect your erection. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about next. 5. Drawback. 2. Reduced sensitivity and weakened erectile response. Now here's something that catches many men off guard. Doing something too often, especially the same way every time, can slowly change how your body responds. Not in a dramatic way at first, but gradually, quietly. Your nervous system learns patterns, and when ejaculation becomes frequent and rushed, your body begins to adapt to speed instead of control. That affects sensitivity, it affects timing, and over time, it can affect the strength of your erection itself. Because arousal is not just physical, it's a coordinated response between your brain, your nerves, and your blood flow. When that rhythm is disrupted, everything feels different. Let me share a case with you. Mr. Bennett, 70 years old, came in frustrated. "Doctor, I still want it, but my body doesn't cooperate the way it used to." He described weaker erections, difficulty maintaining them, and sometimes finishing too quickly, even when he didn't want to. What stood out wasn't his age, it was his pattern. For years, his stimulation had become fast, repetitive, almost mechanical. His body had learned one speed, one pathway, and when he tried to be present with his partner, that pattern didn't translate. His brain wasn't as responsive, his blood flow didn't build the same way, and his confidence began to slip. Here's what's happening inside your body. When stimulation is constant and predictable, your dopamine response becomes less sensitive. It takes more to feel the same level of arousal. At the same time, your nervous system becomes conditioned to quick release instead of sustained response. That can lead to weaker erections, reduced firmness, and less natural desire over time, and many men assume this is just aging. But it's not always the case. The encouraging part is this: your body can relearn. Mr. Bennett didn't need medication. He needed to slow down. To change the pattern, to allow his body to rebuild sensitivity, that meant spacing things out, taking time, focusing on sensation instead of speed. And within weeks, he noticed a shift: more control, stronger response, more confidence. So here's a simple adjustment. Don't rush. Give your body time to respond. Break the pattern of speed. Let your nervous system reset, because the way you train your body today becomes the way it performs tomorrow. And here's where it goes even deeper. Because beyond sensitivity and control, there's one more factor that many men overlook completely. Something that can quietly drain your energy and affect your hormones if you're not careful. And that's exactly what we're going to explore next. 6. Drawback. 3. energy drain, and hormonal imbalance. There's one more layer to this, and it's the one most men feel but struggle to explain. That quiet drop in energy, that sense of fatigue that lingers even after a full night's sleep, and sometimes that subtle loss of drive, not just sexually, but in life. Now, ejaculation itself is not harmful, but when it becomes too frequent, without recovery, your body doesn't always get the time it needs to rebalance. Hormones fluctuate. Testosterone, which naturally declines with age, can feel even lower when your body is constantly in a cycle of release without restoration. And that affects more than just performance. It affects your strength, your mood, your motivation, even how your body responds to arousal in the first place. I remember a patient, Mr. Walker, 68 years old. He came in saying, "Doctor, I feel tired all the time, and I don't know why." He wasn't sick. His tests were mostly normal, but when we talked about his routine, something became clear. He had developed a daily pattern, not out of desire, but habit. And over time, he began to notice the changes. Less energy during the day, less interest in intimacy, erections that felt weaker, less consistent. He thought it was just aging catching up with him, but when we adjusted one thing, giving his body more time between stimulation, focusing on sleep, movement, and recovery, something shifted. His energy improved, his desire returned, and his confidence followed. Here's what I want you to understand. Your body works in cycles. Effort, then recovery. Stimulation, then balance. If you interrupt that cycle too often, especially as testosterone naturally declines, your system doesn't get the chance to reset. And over time, that shows up as fatigue, low libido, and reduced performance. Not because your body is failing, but because it's out of rhythm. The good news is this can change. You don't need extreme measures, just awareness. Give your body space to recover. Prioritize sleep. Stay active, and pay attention to how you feel, not just in the moment, but the next day, because that's where the real signal is. And now, after seeing both sides, the benefits and the risks, it's time to step back and understand what this all really means for you, your body, and your future. 7. Conclusion. Reclaiming control, strength, and awareness as you age. There comes a point in a man's life when the body no longer responds the way it used to, and that moment can feel unsettling. Not because something suddenly breaks, but because small changes begin to add up. Energy dips, desire shifts, confidence wavers. And what makes it harder is this. Many men assume it's all inevitable, that nothing can be done. But what you've seen today tells a different story. Your body is not simply aging, it is adapting. And whether that adaptation works for you or against you depends on how well you understand it. At this stage of life, your system becomes more sensitive. Blood flow, hormones, prostate function. They no longer tolerate neglect the way they once did. The margin for error becomes smaller. The habits you repeat daily, even the ones that seem harmless, begin to carry more weight. Done with awareness, they can support your mood, your circulation, your sense of vitality. Done without it, they can slowly drain your energy, reduce your responsiveness, and distance you from the version of yourself you still want to be. Now think about the next 1 to 5 years. The direction your health takes will not be decided by age alone, but by the patterns you reinforce starting today. Small adjustments, more intention, listening to your body instead of ignoring it. These are not dramatic changes, but they are powerful ones. I've seen men in their 70s regain confidence, restore function, and feel present again, simply because they chose to understand rather than assume. So don't wait for things to get worse before you act. Stay aware, stay intentional. Because your masculinity is not defined by decline, it's defined by how you respond to it. And even now, you still have more control than you think.